Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 24 of Cameron's Nostalgia Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Strickland, and today I have with me Jack Lenz. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Cameron. Very nice to meet you, especially somebody from Frenchman's Cove in Newfoundland.
Nice. Now, for any of the guys who don't know, Jack was a composer for TV shows and films.
Yeah, I've done about 100 different television series, composed music for about 100 different television series, and then I've originated about maybe 14 or 15 original series, some of them puppet-based series, which I know is one of your interests. I've had about a 50-year career of writing music from everything from Goosebumps to Due South to The Passion of the Christ, the Mel Gibson movie, to the Toronto Blue Jays theme song, "Okay, Blue Jays, Let's Play Ball." I've been a lucky guy to keep writing music and making a living.
All right, let's begin our first question.
Sure.
How did you get interested in music?
Well, I grew up in Saskatchewan, which is a province in the middle of Canada. Is mostly was at the time when I was growing up was mostly farm community. But I grew up on a farm, and my mom decided that she wanted her kids to learn to play the piano, so she bought an old upright piano that was in our living room. And then she tried to get us to go to lessons and take piano lessons. And I was the only one that wanted to practice for some reason. So I grew up with that, you know, studying music, studying piano, learning to play the piano, learning classical music mostly. Most of my teachers were classical music teachers, and so that got me interested. It got me, as we say, it gave me the bug to want to play music and write music, and I'm always grateful to my mother for making me go to piano lessons.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what was your first music gig?
Wow. Um, excuse me. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold. But my first music gig, I got a job playing piano for a group in Saskatoon. I think it was called, I was about 15 years old. The group was called Louise Gonzala and the Pawns. We had little pawns on our jackets, from chess. And Louise was the lead singer. And then just first opportunity I got to actually play in a band, and I played organ. And we did sort of songs that were, popular at the time from the 50s and 60s. And that was my first gig. I used to go out and play on the weekends, Cameron, on for dances in Saskatchewan.
Okay, so you are a composer for Anteater Pants.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't really write the songs for that. I produced a lot of songs with a wonderful artist named Douglas John Cameron, who was an artist that I worked with in the '80s. He's a wonderful songwriter, a very gifted singer, and we did a first album with him, which I think. Well, I did a bunch of children's music with him for the Baha'i community. I'm a member of the Baha'i community, and so was Douglas. And so we did a bunch of songs for that community. And then we did a song based on the story of the persecution of Baha'i women in Iran in 1985 called Mona with the Children. And that was Doug's song. And so I spent, I spent a lot of time with Douglas. And one of his projects was he wrote a lot of the songs for a series called Ants in Your Pants on YTV and Treehouse. And so I helped produce some of that music and helped coordinate the release of a record based on that. And Douglas made some videos for YTV and Treehouse based on his songs as well. That was also a
Okay.
long time ago. No worries.
You have worked on a British and Canadian show called Big and Small.
Right. Wow. You've really done your research. Yeah, I was a producer on Big and Small, and the guys that I worked with, Jamie Shannon and Jason Hopley, were the same guys that did Nanoland. And so we were approached by a British company to produce for the BBC and for I think that was also with Treehouse in Canada. That show called Big and Small. We did about 50, I think about 54 episodes of 11-minute episodes with those characters and their world. And Jamie Shannon and Jason Hopley, who called themselves the Grogs at that time, really contributed a lot to the kind of character and quality of that show.
Okay. So you worked on Jimmy Two Shoes.
Yeah, I did. I had a company for many years that had a number of composers that I had hired who would work on the whatever shows came into our shop, our music shop, and that was one of the Jimmy Two Shoes. So my son Asher Lenz is also a very good um, kind of commercial composer, and he does a lot of shows in animation, and he contributed a lot to Jimmy Two Shoes. Uh, I'm pretty sure that the original producer was a company called Breakthrough Entertainment, and Kevin Gillis, I think, was the main producer on that. I could be wrong, but Kevin's been a friend for a long time, and he brought a lot of animated series to our shop to do the music and the themes for it. Did you like Jimmy Two Shoes as a show?
Yes.
Good.
And what about the Muddy Jungle?
Ah, Mighty Jungle. Yes, I remember Mighty Jungle. It was a show that came out of, I think, a company in Halifax. They were doing a combination of puppet live action and some animation shows. And again, that was really led by Jason Hopley, who kind of brought those characters to life, and I did some of the music as well and wrote some songs for it. It was I'm actually surprised that you know that show because I don't think it lasted very long. Sometimes shows come and then people they really live for a long time and people do hundreds of episodes and then some you do one season or you do a few shows and then either the broadcaster isn't interested in the show or can't or won't support it or the partnerships that they had with other people just end up not carrying on because um, it's expensive to make these shows, especially animation shows, but also even live action shows are expensive to make.
Okay. And what about Mr. Meaty?
Wow, you know them all, Cameron. That's pretty good. Yeah, Mr. Meaty is one of my favorites, actually. We had so much fun making that because these two guys, Josh and Parker, work in a basically a fast food franchise called Mr. Meaty. And I still remember the theme song. It was so much fun because the theme song had the words "All God's creatures fresh off the grill." Um, come on down to Mr. Meaty. Happy to meet you. And I it was kind of irreverent, but it was really a show about uh, teenagers working in shops in a mall. And I think the mall was kind of based on the kind of malls that Jamie and Jason again, Jason Hopley and Jamie Shannon, to give wonderful credit to those guys, very creative guys, the same guys that did Nanoland. If you can imagine, the same guys that brought you innocent little Nanoland brought you crazy Mr. Meaty, right? And Josh and Parker were such great characters, and all the different characters. We even had a vegan character, a vegetarian character. We had an old a man that had started the Mr. Meaty franchise, who was kind of like a Walt Disney who had been frozen, so he could be woken up later in the next century perhaps, and see what happened to his franchise. It was a very creative show, and a huge amount of fun to work on. I really I think Nickelodeon unfortunately didn't really promote it properly. They put it on another one of their subsidiary networks and kind of killed it. But we did 2 seasons. We did 40 episodes, and it was really a blast to do. It was so much fun.
Yes. Now, Whoopi Swindleberg, that the Groks did, was puppeteered by Jason Hopley.
Yeah. Well, originally both Jason and Jamie were involved with that show. It was a demo for Nickelodeon called Little Berg, as you mentioned, and it starred Whoopi Goldberg. And again, a very creative idea. Unfortunately, didn't do much after the pilot. And but as usual, those guys brought wonderful characters to life for that show. And I can't remember who the director was.
Tim Hill.
You're right. Absolutely. Good for you, man. Well, you know this stuff better than I do, and probably your memory is better. But yeah, Tim was great to work with, and it's just too bad it didn't continue on, because it was a neat idea. Just imagine living in a world where Whoopi Goldberg is the mayor and all the other characters are puppets. It was a lot. It was a very funny idea, and I'm sorry it didn't do better.
Yes, it was for the Lost Media.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've obviously done your homework, Cameron.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like working on Nanoland?
Well, Nanoland was the first show that we did together. We called ourselves the Three J's. It was Jason, Jamie, and Jack, which is my first name. And it was the best way I could describe that experience was it was magical, because of the whole idea was to try to show what the world might look like to a 2 or 3 year old. So if you see the world from the perspective of the table leg, right? When your view of life is from that perspective, um, and if you remember what water tasted like out of the garden hose in your grandma's backyard, and you had a Jack Russell Terrier named Russer to play with, and everything was about wonder and bugs and birds, and you know Nana's stories and Nana's songs. Uh, it just had a wonderful innocence and comedy to it that worked for both adults and kids. Uh, and I think that's why it's come back, is because it had a degree of innocence, had a degree of acknowledging what an amazing time that is in the life of a person when you're a child, and your Nana is one of those nanas that collects all kinds of crazy things and has all kinds of ways of keeping a little girl like Mona busy all day while her mom's at work. That was kind of the whole premise. But it's a great show. It's a show that I think will continue to live, and I think that's why there's been such interesting kind of response on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, because of the enduring nature of the characters and how sweet they are and how innocent they are.
So
We
Nana
call
Land,
it healing your inner child. Sorry, sorry, Cameron. I was just saying that we call it healing your inner child, right?
right? So Nana Land was an internet meme.
Yeah, yeah. It took off because there was a lot of interest in the show because not necessarily from kids because it's not like on TikTok and these kind of things you're necessarily kids, but it was more for adults who were watching the show and maybe remembered it as a kid and that kind of thing. But it's also just because of the innocence of it and the kinds of characters that they were. So I think that was part of the reason that it's come back. But also, we did a song in one of the episodes called Playday where Nana sings a song at the organ called "Who's That Wonderful Girl?" Do you remember that song?
Yes.
Uh, Anyways, so that's that song when it came out online as a meme. It was like I don't know how to describe it, but it had like millions of hits within a week because people loved the comedy of it and Mona being dressed up as a princess and Russell being her suitor dressed up as a little sort of you know Renaissance dog and Nana singing this song at an organ about how wonderful it is to be a little girl, right? So I think it really resonated with people and still does, right? And I think that's kind of was the song was kind of the catalyst for it taking off online.
So this show is for the lost media.
Um, I think the only one that we worked on for them was the Littleberg, the one with Whoopi Goldberg. I don't think we've done anything else with them.
Okay, so what was it like working on Ooh and Ah on Playhouse Disney?
Wow, yeah, this is like a walk down memory lane, Cameron. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was marvelous. It was Disney was Disney. We created these two characters, or Jamie and Jason created these two characters called Ooh and Ah, and one was a blue monkey and one was a red monkey, and they wanted them to introduce all the programming on Playhouse Disney, right? Or Disney, I think it was called Disney Junior or something. And so we did it for a couple of years, I think, or 2 to 3 years, where we would do these little skits that would be transitions where Ooh and Ah would introduce shows on Disney Channel, and and they were a lot of fun. They sort of lived in the jungle and they sang songs and they played tricks on each other and just a bit like Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street, right? A bit like Bert and Ernie, where they were kind of brothers, but they were also kind of a little competitive, and they always had a different way of doing things or saying things. It was also a lot of fun. It was really like I remember when we were auditioning kids who could maybe be on the show, and the kids just couldn't get over how funny the puppets were. Right? They were really wonderful characters. I'm. So, did you ever see those, Cameron? Did you ever see them on Disney?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm amazed that you know so much about all these shows. That's fantastic.
So, what was it like working on the raccoons?
Well, I mostly wrote songs for raccoons with the originator of that whole idea, which is a guy named Kevin Gillis. I'm sure you probably know about Kevin. He was really one of the leading kind of lights in, and not it was, but still is, of original shows coming from Canada, original animated shows. He yeah, he originated Raccoons. Sorry, I was just getting my call for lunch. Excuse my rudeness. Uh, he originated the Raccoon series. He I did a whole bunch of series with him called Producing Parker, where I did music and songs. Man, so many shows with him. Jimmy Two Shoes, he was also involved in that. Just incredible. But for Raccoons, I just co-wrote songs with Kevin, and then we worked with an artist that I had signed, gotten a deal with Warner Brothers called Lisa Lougheed, who sang "Run with Us." You know, the sort of the main song, and uh, and then we did some videos, and so it was sort of a fairly long journey of writing songs over several seasons. Actually, the songs and the music for Raccoons is just coming out on a label called Enjoy the Ride Records out of the States. And they also just did a couple of years ago, they did the Goosebumps soundtrack because I did the theme and score for Goosebumps, the TV series on Fox.
Okay, so what was it like working on We Free?
E3, I actually didn't have a lot to do with that. That was really the amazing work of Douglas John Cameron, who I did a bunch of kids music with and some adult music as well. But Douglas really put together all the like the theme song and all the songs for We Three with Treehouse again.
Okay, so what about Answer Your Pant? I mean, what's your news?
Oh, what's your news? Wow, I'm just looking at the poster right here, and I'm remembering Anthony and all the other characters named after ants, Giant. Uh, it was it was pretty fun show to do. It was done with a company that was run by John Burton, who does all the Lego movies, and had a great relationship between his company and Warner Brothers. And I got to write music for it, and then our company produced the first season in cooperation with Nick Jr. in the UK and CBC here in Canada. And it was kind of an example of, again, puppeteers. Jason Hopley had a lot to do with the main character, the interviewer character. And again, just very creative, interesting idea. Uh, and, you know, a very expensive show to do when you're doing combination of live action and animation, but a very clever idea, and we had a lot of fun. It's a great show. I think Jocelyn and Larry, who'd also worked with Jim Henson in the early days, they were the main producers on that show. Very gifted and talented people.
And what was it like working on Wilbur?
Oh, again, I didn't have a lot to do with Wilbur. I wrote some of the original music, but I didn't really, I didn't really continue on with it. I did some of the original songs and I think a theme for it, but I was never really sure what happened. I was involved in the beginning and then it kind of went away. But like most of those shows, it was fun to do a theme, fun to do songs, and so I worked sort of more in the first few episodes.
Okay, so do you have any behind the scenes footage or photos of Littleberg?
Of Littleberg,
Hmm.
I think I still have the original demo, but it would have just been the edited version that I would have. Uh, Cameron, I'm happy to try to dig it up and see what we have. But I could also ask Jason. I'll tell Jason Hopley about your podcast because he's a really lovely guy, very creative guy, And Jamie Shannon also worked on Little Bird, the other co-creator and founder of the Grogs and of Nanaland and Mr. Meaty and a lot of those shows that Jason and Jamie did together. But I don't I don't I don't think I have anything specifically except the first episode.
All right. Do you have the behind the
The
scene?
first and only episode, I should say.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. It's
Do you
okay.
have any behind the scenes photos and footage of Nanoland?
Oh, I've got a ton of stuff on Nanoland. I'd have to dig it up though because it's 25 years ago, Cameron. So I don't know what I would have, but I could send you some photos and I can send you uh, some of the clips maybe that you haven't seen.
Okay. Are you gonna send it to me?
Yeah, if you I've got your phone number, but if you can, oh, and I've got your email address, so I'll organize that. Just give me a sorry, just give me a few days, Cameron, because I'm in the middle of a lot right now, and I'll have to dig it up.
My email address is Cameron.strick without a K at Gmail. I mean at
Perfect.
hotmail.com.
At Hotmail, great. Okay, I'll send you some stuff, my friend, and if you send me your address, I will send you an Nanoland DVD. I have I have a few in the garage.
All right. It's 2
Is that a
Strickland's
deal?
Road.
Sorry,
2
what's it called?
Strickland's Road.
Okay, just maybe email it to me, Cameron, if you don't mind. Email me your physical address in Frenchman's Cove.
All right.
Okay. And any other questions, or shall we call it a day and we'll meet again, I'm sure.
What was your favorite Littleberg song?
Oh man, I don't even remember them. I'm sorry. I I that's a long time ago, but I'll look it up, I promise, and see.
You have any synthesizers?
Where did you see that episode?
I see this episode
Yeah, I
on
still
you.
have most of this on YouTube. Okay, sure, good, of course. I still have some of the original synthesizers that I used in the 1970s. My son had them restored, and so they all work, which is good.
Well, I got the Korg X free for Christmas.
Oh, good. So do you play music and do you write music?
Yes.
Good for you. Amazing. I'm happy to hear that. We piano players have to stick together, you know.
You have a Korg X free?
No, I don't. Sorry. I've got an ARP 2600. I've got a Mini Moog. I've got a what they used to call a string machine. I've got a clavinet. I've got a Fender Rhodes. You know, a lot of that stuff from the 70s that my son has restored.
All right.
But I don't have the Korg. No. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for a chance to chat with you, Cameron. I'm impressed with your research, and I'll send you a few things.
All right. Thanks so much, Jack, for your time.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity, Cameron. Great to meet you, and good luck out there in beautiful old Newfoundland.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, just say thank you. I'll just say thank you very much, and a pleasure to meet you. And please give my best to your friends and family out there.
Nice. Stay tuned, for there'll be more guests coming up. Until next time, peace.
Oh, thanks, man. Same here. See you soon. Thanks, Cameron. Bye for now.